So, welcome everyone. Today we're recording the second episode of the Beyond Consulting podcast, and I'm very honored to have Patrick Haston with us. Patrick, welcome to the show. Patrick is a high caliber person in the UK scene. He's head of cloud transformation for the Cabinet Office. But I think, Patrick, you can say some words about yourself and introduce what you're doing for that large organization yourself much better than I can do. I'm really, really honored to have you on the show. And if you could maybe give us a quick intro about yourself and what you're doing for the organization, that would be super helpful.
Hi, Christian. Delighted to be here and looking forward to having this conversation. So my role in the Cabinet Office is part of the Shared Services Strategy for Government, which is moving the UK civil service, that's the central government of the United Kingdom, onto 5 shared service centres for their ERP provision. So that's for their HR finance systems. There will be just 5 of those serving 18 government departments and several hundred arm's length bodies. Arm's length bodies are agencies like the Passport Office, the Driver's Licence Authority, these organisations that deliver government services, but each one is a separate organisation. We're going to bring them all onto these 5 ERPs. And my role in this is providing technical advice to these programs and making sure that everybody's talking to each other. So I chair a number of cross-government groups like enterprise architects, design leads, data leads, making sure that ideas are being shared and we're all pulling in the same direction.
Well, that sounds like a very big program. I think last time we spoke, you mentioned there's more than 280,000 people or so involved in the entire transformation. Is that, it's probably the largest one that we have in Europe, is it?
Yeah, well, that's just one of the clusters. One of the 5 clusters is Synergy. We call it Synergy. That is the biggest cluster, and they have, and that's right. That's the size of their ERP program, 280,000 people.
Wow.
But that is just, that's one of the 5 programs, the biggest one, obviously.
That's fascinating. I mean, it's a big effort. What does come to mind when you think about, I assume it's not very easy to set these big tankers, basically, and steer them. And if you think about it, like it's been probably 5 ships or so, what are the challenges, you come across when actually setting up such a big program, and what's going on through people's mind when you start on such a big program?
Yeah, well, these things don't happen overnight, as you can imagine. It's taken several years to get the programs up and running. I think the first of all was persuading people that this is actually possible. That this vision that we had could work. And to do that, we looked at what other people were doing in other countries, and we've learned from them and seen that it is possible to do shared services on this scale, and it could be done successfully. So and then once we've won over people's hearts and minds, we can then start the process of bidding for the funds and working out how it's going to all happen, and writing the business cases. Of course, in government, it's not quite as simple as it should be, and you've got to, because this is public money we're spending, and you've got to make absolutely sure that this is going to work and it's the right thing to do. So there's a lot of approval processes need to go through. So it took some years, and then the procurement itself takes a long time to do it right. And so from launching this strategy in 2021, it was the summer of 24 before we let the first contracts.
Wow, so it's basically 3 years to plan out the program, to win hearts and souls, as you describe it. And so did it involve, of course, also then only internal decision makers, where you say, okay, we need to see it's possible, what you said, like it's actually doable. We need to have the funding, the budget, but also from the stakeholders' perspective, did you need to involve the public in that to say, look, that is what we want to do? Ultimately, probably saving some money. Of course, first you need to build it and you spend some money on building it, but ultimately you will have a much better engine, much better processes, a better service maybe for the citizens.
So, I mean, this program is about improving how the back office of government. It's about how well we manage our own business as organizations. It's not about, this won't directly impact on citizen services. So the citizens, to a large extent, are not one of our stakeholder groups that we need to engage with. It's we had to work, persuade ministers that this is the right thing to do, and they're more interested in an efficient civil service that works well and has, and ultimately is this going to actually deliver savings that reduce how much it costs to the civil service to run itself, so that money can be redirected into public facing services. And that's what we're hoping to do. That's the aim of the game here, to improve the quality of the experience for civil servants, to move us off aging legacy tech onto new modern systems, and deliver savings for government.
Sounds like an excellent thing to do. And I mean, if you say it took 3 years basically to set everything up, I think there went a lot of energy into planning everything out. If you think about it, like, what have been the secret ingredients to set up the entire transformation team?
So I think, some of the secret ingredients, I think, is the team that I'm part of. Actually, we were all brought together, a group of people who've got experience of implementing these systems and setting up shared services in the public sector in the UK. And within our team, we've got some excellent experience. People who've done this, before, who've been involved in previous shared services, and we're all able to complement each other, and the lessons we've learned over the years, and it's been fairly instrumental, I think. I mean, we've been through this before. We know where the pain points are going to be, and we know also that we don't have all the answers. We're not trying to say we've got all that, we're the experts, we know it all. We absolutely don't. But we know enough to know that we how to get those answers, that we to complement what we know by reaching out to other governments, other organizations, because there have been big programs, big ERP implementations done in the private sector of this scale and larger, so we can learn from them.
And when you assemble the team, so to say, as you describe it, there are things probably you don't know. There are things you kind of have an idea of, others you really know. How do you go about assembling the team? Is it typically you would say, look, this is completely made up from internal? Is it, a mix? Is it mostly external vendors that you contract and steer? What is sort of like the best mix from your perspective to get such a vast transformation going?
Right. So we've got a number of different teams at play here. We've got a small team in the center, setting the strategy, which is mostly made up of internal people. We've had a few external contractors and consultants in to plug gaps where we've needed them, but on the whole, the strategy has been set by civil servants. The delivery teams, those programs that have been stood up to actually implement the programs, there is a much greater percentage of external resource in that mix, and that's partly because there's just not the volume of people with the right skills available to deliver this. Setting up a new program, you need people quickly. You need to get this thing up and running and start things. Things need to start happening. So you need people who can actually hit the ground running and deliver. And there will be certain specific technologies you need skills in. They're just not enough of those people already available in government to for the scale of these programs. So we've needed to bring in additional people. Some of those have been able to recruit through the normal recruitment, but a large number have been contractors who've been brought in or working in as part consultants.
And which role do you see of agencies and vendors in that regard? So I think there is what I see in the market. There are those models where, of course, you can get individuals as a contractor. You can get multiple individuals, maybe from an agency, and you can get basically a part of the program, a module delivered through a vendor, where they would come also and have a project leader and would have the oversight. Are there specific considerations that you made to decide which of those three models you went for? Is there maybe a completely different one? How do you decide which piece of the program to give to whom?
To the scale of these programs mean it's pretty much all of the above. It's we went out to the market for not just for the technology. We also went out to the market for an SI, and it was actually a bundled procurement, so that we bought the technology and the implementation service as part of the same contract. Mm-hmm. So the thinking behind that was that if there were issues during the implementation, we wouldn't get one party blaming the other. So the SI wouldn't blame the tech, and the tech wouldn't blame how it was being configured. So we just say, sort it out between yourselves. We've got one. We asked you to deliver a working solution. Make it work for us. I don't care who.
Right.
So it's just I think the phrase is one ringable neck. Only one person to go to if there's a problem. So that was the thinking behind those implementation services. But we also recognised that we needed more expertise in-house on our side. So before that contract was let, we went out to the market and bought in client-side advisors. So those are people who are basically they're with SI skills, but they're on our side, and they're making giving us advice to make sure that we're planning the project well. We are asking the right questions of the SI and the technology, and also that we're doing everything that we need to do in-house to make sure that this project is successful.
Mm-hmm. So that is something I see a lot being used. So because it debottlenecks your organization as well, I assume. And you have someone with the experience who've ran it on the SI side, even probably before, who then enables you to ask the right question, but maybe even almost steer a bit the vendor or help the organization to steer the vendors in the direction that you want. Do you organize those as a team? With internals and externals? Do you rather would prefer to do all that steering completely in-house? What are the trade-offs that you thought about when setting that up?
It would be nice to have more expertise in-house, in the sense because there's a greater likelihood that the knowledge and skills from the program will remain with the organization after the program finishes. So that would be ideal. But that's, we've got to recognize that that's just not always possible. There's just too much work to be done. Most organizations, they don't carry spare people sitting around waiting for things for a project, especially if they've got a specific set of skills. You just can't hold on to people if they're sitting on a bench. They'll go off and find some interesting work to do, especially all the good ones will anyway. So you just don't have these people sitting around waiting for work to do. So when your project kicks off, you can just pull them all in. They just don't exist. You can go out and recruit them, but that takes time. And while you're doing that, you might just, bringing in consultants or contractors is a really quick way of getting a team up and in place very quickly. And then as you do manage to recruit, you can start to replace some of those contract roles with your own civil servants over time. And hopefully we can manage to grow some of our own people as well, grow our own skills. As the length of these programs, these are multi-year programs, and there's a good chance that people will be able to develop and reach the level at which they can actually move into some of the roles that are currently being done by a contractor, and we can train up some of our own people up to be able to take on some of those roles.
And I like that view that you say, okay, that is, I mean, it's a massive program. It's multiple programs that will run for many, many years. So as I understand you say we create those opportunities also for people that maybe now are in the beginning of the career, and then, of course, over the duration of these many, many years, build up skills so they can drive a lot more programs or other initiatives basically in the same organization. What's your view on how the staffing, as I said, like the recruiting, might change during those years? I mean, yes, I heard you say on the one hand you're trying to recruit all those people as much as you can, but of course that takes also time. Ideally, you start straight away, maybe with freelancers, contractors, whatever is the solution, and then there's bigger implementation pieces that you completely give basically to a partner. Do you see that mix over time changing? What's your view on that?
I think there will always be a need for contractor resource and consultants. I don't think I can't imagine a future in which we would have all the skills we would ever need in-house. That's just not going to happen. There's a new thing I think it's been around for a wee while now, called, it's got different names, but I know it as Recruit, Train, Deploy. And it's where you work with an external agency who will do a lot of the recruitment. They'll interview loads and loads of people and put together and then select a small number of that, give them some intensive boot camp type training, and then deploy them within an organization, initially on a contractor type contract, but with the view that after a 6-month or 1 year period working with the customer, they can then transition into becoming an employee. And the advantage of that is that the organization is in taking on somebody that they already know, that knows the organization, knows the business, knows the work. The advantage for the individual, new employee, is that they've had a second chance in life. They've might have gone down a different route. They might have been, an ex-military person. They've come and they've trying to retrain and get into civilian life, or who knows? They've come through a different route, and they usually come with a lot of life skills, and they also come with a lot of loyalty because they've been given this second chance. We've seen that those people, when they are given that, if they are given an employment opportunity, they tend to stay with the organization for longer. And that's what we really need. We need people who can join us and be there with us through the journey, through the implementation and beyond, so that we've got all that knowledge of the decisions that were made during the program and why those decisions were made. And we've still got that corporate memory. So we need people who can stay with us for a longer period. And that, I think, might be really an attractive route to getting people. It's a long-term thinking, which can be difficult to apply in the midst of a big implementation program. But I think it's quite exciting.
I like that long-term perspective. Now, everyone at the same time looking a bit into the future. I hear people talking a lot, about generative AI and its impact on businesses and humans and how things get even more accelerated. And no one knows really what is the future there. I mean, it's still yet to come, and it's something in between completely exciting to completely like a dark future or something like this. But if you think about it, do you see elements of AI or automatizations coming into the execution of those large transformation programs? Because I imagine there is a lot of people that need to be steered, a lot of progress being made. Are there some, do you see AI making an inroad to the execution of the programs or transformation programs?
Yes, it's going to. It's early days at the moment, and we're seeing at the moment it's just around the edges. So we're seeing AI being used by certain colleagues, who the ones who are a bit more innovative, if you like, to help make them more productive in their daily jobs. And that could be simple things like using Copilot to take notes of the meeting, and so you're freeing somebody up from doing that. So it's small things around the edges. These aren't, they're helpful, but they're not transformational. I think we're going to see AI quickly learning and getting better. And I think some of the areas we'll see is gaining experience in planning, helping to plan the project, and managing some of the interdependency. The PMO function itself, I think that's a huge opportunity there for AI to really help there, to keep track of where the project is and track lots and lots of, chase people for updates and things, which currently takes a small team. I think that's going to be quite an exciting area for the future, perhaps some fertile ground for automation there. And perhaps that's also in terms of comms and keeping people up to date with what's going on. We spend a lot of time thinking and sending out, making sure we're talking to the right people, keeping people informed. Some of that could perhaps be automated. I don't know how people would feel about getting an automated email or update from a system rather than from a person, but I think we could probably adapt, just here's a quick heads up on the project, and just here's, some charts, some graphs showing you the status of things. I think people might quite welcome that.
Fascinating, because I'm coming from consulting. I've been more than 10 years in consulting, and a lot of projects I've been involved with always included this PMO, project management office thing, where I think also a lot of the generalist consultants would come in, because they're very good communicators. They're very good at structuring things, bringing initiatives together, seeing if things are on track. Now, if AI would take over this PMO task to a bigger extent, would you still see a need for consultants at all?
I think consultants are good because the AI I see would help with the mechanics of doing it, but it wouldn't necessarily know what was important to monitor in this project. You need that expert, that human, to actually say, right, okay, for this project, this is what we're doing here, something quite new, a bit innovative. We can't, we're trying to, the standard approach might not be suitable for this project. Now, an AI wouldn't be able to do that. You need a person, an expert, to give you that steer, that advice. And once you've set it up, then you can use an AI to keep it running. I think we're still so far away from an AI being totally able to leave it to do it itself. We're still, and I think for some time to come, AI is not going to take anybody's job, but somebody using AI can.
Thanks a lot for that. And maybe also with looking a bit at the time, but I always would love to ask these questions when I'm speaking with super interesting people like you. But if you would have a single career advice, maybe for our audience, what would it be?
No, it's what would I have? I think. What would I have told myself when I was younger? These are the things I sometimes wish I would be able to go back in time and say. Some of these things I did, and some of these things I wish I had done. And be curious. First of all, just things that catch your attention, follow up on them. Just take some more risks. I think there are very few decisions in life that can't be unmade, that can't be fixed. And I look back and I think I should have taken some more risks in my life. Sometimes I was a bit too careful, and I think but you never know which, I think I'm happy with my life. I'm very happy with the way it's working out so far. But I've found that anytime I've made a decision, every time I've turned a corner and gone down left or right, as soon as you start walking down that road, you see things that weren't visible from when from the time you had to make a decision. And as soon as you travel down, you see new things that you weren't. And that's really exciting because it makes you realize that at the point at which you make the decision, you don't have all the answers. You can only see what's in front of you, and you have to make a decision. Whichever way you go, there'll be new opportunities, new things, which they'll be different in each case. You don't know what they are, but they'll be good. There'll be good opportunities down the road. So, to a certain extent, I think very often there's no wrong decisions. There's just a decision. So, take some risks, travel down roads that look interesting, because chances are there's lots of great stuff further down you just can't see. But I think I played it. Yeah, I maybe played it safe too much when I was younger.
Taking risks, being curious, and traveling down roads also that you find interesting. Patrick, thanks a lot for your insights today. It's been a great talk, and it's been my pleasure also to have you on the show. Thank you very much. Looking forward to, of course, reconnecting. And once again, thank you very much for joining today.
You're very welcome. I've enjoyed it. Thank you.